Hey, what's going on, guys? It's 4 Dave here, and welcome to an update tutorial on OBS Studio. This is for OBS Studio 17.0.0. It's the latest version, and there have been a couple of changes since the last tutorial I made. And also, I felt that tutorial in general wasn't too great. There was a lot of things wrong with it. I did speak too much, I would say, and a lot of people have told me that, so I'm going to try and cut it down a little bit, but I want to keep everything explained. So this is going to be in how you can record gameplay on your PC in 1080p 60 FPS, really smooth, with little to no issues at all. It's really, really awesome. So the first thing we need to do is jump into the software here. Ideally, you want to make sure you can see it here. We've got the 16-bit version open. I'm guessing, sorry, not 16, 64-bit. I'm guessing everyone has 64-bit Windows these days. I'm running Windows 10 64-bit, and if you're not running 64-bit, you probably shouldn't be gaming too much or even recording, because you're not going to have enough RAM to support it. So 64-bit you need to have open. Then we're going to jump into the settings. This is the bread and butter of how we're going to actually be doing the recording. General, just leave it on whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter too much. Stream doesn't matter because I'm not streaming at the moment. I'm just recording, so streaming we do not need to worry about. This is where the first tab we need to focus on. This is the output tab. So you want to set the output mode to advanced. Simple is pretty useless. It doesn't give us the options we want. And then at the top here, we want to select recording, and then set the type to standard. You're then going to set the recording path here, so this is just going to be where all the recordings go to, so you set the folder. Leave the recording format on MP4. If for some reason you start having some issues putting files into your editing software later on, if that's what you're doing, then maybe you'll need to change this to other things, but MP4 works for me. Audio tracks, this is how many audio tracks we're going to be using. So we can have up to 6 now in this iteration of OBS, which is really awesome. I mean, I don't have any need for 6. I use 3, so I have one for my mic, one for my gameplay audio, and one for basically my TeamSpeak or Discord or Skype audio from friends that I'm playing with, and I can split them all onto 3 separate tracks, which means that when I put it into editing software, I can then edit all of them individually, which is really, really awesome. Now, this is a very important part. This is the encoder. So the encoder is deciding how the video is going to be recorded. At the moment, I've found great success with QuickSync and also NVENC, but I'll quickly run through each of these. X264 is essentially CPU-based recording. So if you've got a really strong CPU, I'd say you want a strong i7 to be doing good X264 recordings on any game that's demanding. Then yeah, you can use this. I don't, because even though I've got a pretty powerful PC, I get essentially better quality. Well, sorry, about the same quality and better performance out of these two. So I just wouldn't use X264. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, then you should have the NVENC option available to you. And if you have a fairly recent Intel CPU with QuickSync enabled, then you can use QuickSync. If for some reason you have an Intel CPU and QuickSync isn't available to you, then it's probably because it's not, your internal GPU isn't enabled. You're gonna have to search for another tutorial on that. I'm not gonna explain that. You have to go into your BIOS, and it's just a little setting. It's not complicated. You just need to go in, just change a setting, and then this should pop up for you and allow you to use it. And both of these are really, really quick. So I'll quickly run through both of them. I'll first of all run through QuickSync. This is what I'm using at the moment. Target usage, obviously you want to select quality because you want the best quality. It's pretty standard. Profile you set to high. This is pretty standard, I think, for any HD footage that you're recording. Main and high are fairly similar. Don't use baseline, but if you have any issues with high, you can use main. Keyframe interval, it doesn't matter too much. I don't think this is typically, if you're streaming, you'd want to set this, but I just have it set to what it is here. I think 0 might be better, but I think if I remember, yeah, it doesn't let me set it to 0 for some reason, so just leave it on 3. Async depth, leave it on 4, that's fine. And then this is the part I want to explain. So this is the constant quality preset. That is a CQP. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. You can do this, or you can do CBR. I use CQP, which is essentially, it keeps a constant quality by changing the bitrate as you record. So I set this to 18. If this is too powerful for you, you can reduce it. So reducing the quality means increasing these numbers. So you can put these all on like 20. But I think just try 18. If it's not working too well for you, increase it a little bit, but you don't really want to go above like 23, because that's when you start losing quality pretty heavily. If for some reason CQP is taking up too much hard drive space because it's using so high bit rates, you can change to CBR, and then you can set it to 50,000. That's pretty good, but if you're playing some really, really fast games, then you're going to lose out a little bit of quality there, I think, but not much. So either of them work. I've just been using CQP recently. I will quickly show you the NVENC setup. So same thing, you can either use CBR at 50,000, or you can use CQP at 18. And then keyframe in tool, see here, it lets me use 0 here. So I'm not really sure, it doesn't seem to make any difference later on, so it's fine. Preset, leave it on default. There'll be some here that sound really good at high quality and stuff, but I really think just leave it on default, and then it will do the work for you. Profile, high. Level, auto. You can tick or untick use two pass encoding, it doesn't really matter. And then GPU 0 and B-frames 2, just leave that as is. Yeah, I use the quick sync because it's been working for me recently, so we'll leave it on that. So let's just apply that. See, that was a section I had to talk a little bit about, just to explain what is going on. We'll jump into the audio now. So this is going to set the audio bitrate for your tracks. So I actually only use 3 tracks, obviously the first 3, but I do set them all just in case I end up using them later on and I forget that I haven't set the audio bitrate. I put this on 192. Yeah, it's not the highest, but you don't really need any higher than it. It starts to just take up more file space that you don't really need. If you're like an audio freak, or you've got a video which is really based around the crispest audio ever, then yeah, bump this up to like 320, but YouTube will compress the crap out of anything you upload anyway, and that's something to remember with any recording, is that YouTube's going to compress the crap out of anyway, so there's no point uploading something that's super high quality, because YouTube will just destroy it anyway. Okay, the next tab on the left is audio. The first thing we're going to select is the sample rate. So we're either selecting 48 Hz or 44.1, it was 48 kilohertz or 44.1 kilohertz. So the way we're going to decide what this is just if you come down to the bottom right, I don't know what version of Windows you're on, but you want to find the sound button, right click it, go to recording devices, find your microphone. So mine is this producer USB microphone. You can see the levels going up and down on. Right click that, go to properties, go to advanced, and just check the default format that you're using. So you can see here I'm using 48,000 Hertz, which is 48 kilohertz. So I want to set that in here. If you have this set differently, you can run into some really weird syncing issues later on. So make sure the sample rate is set to the same as you have your mic and your gameplay audio. Channel set to stereo, so it's coming through both speakers. Desktop audio. Now this thing I'm not going to explain too much. Here, what you could normally just do is set your desktop audio device to just your speakers. So mine would be speakers. Where are they? This one would be these speakers. That would be the gameplay audio. But usually, this would be everything that comes through the speakers. So that would include both game audio and my Discord, my friends speaking to me, which I don't want, so I actually split the audio using a separate bit of software called Voice Meter. If you just search up how to split audio using Voice Meter or something like that on YouTube, you'll find a tutorial on how to do that, and that allows me to have 2 separate tracks, one for the game, one for my friends. And then just set your mic here. So mine is this producer USB, as I already mentioned. And then you can also set up other mics. You can have multi-mic setups. Really cool. I'm not going to use it, and then leave all this random crap just as is when you open up the software. Next is video. So this is where you set your resolution. So typically what you want to do here is you want to set the base canvas resolution to your monitor's resolution. So mine is 1920 by 1080, and then you want to set this output scaled resolution to whatever you want it to come out as. So for me, I want it to stay as 1080p, so I'm leaving it as that. You could do 720p if you want to scale it down, which is fine. Set the downscale filter to Lanczos. It's the best looking one. I don't think it actually matters too much for when you haven't scaled like this. You see it's the same. But if you scale down, you want Lanczos to keep the keep it nice and smooth when you've downscaled it, because otherwise it might come out looking a bit weird. And then you want to set your FPS, so you can use 60 or 30 or whatever you want. So I do 1080 60, so I leave it on that. Hotkeys, I don't have any set up, but you can set hotkeys to have a button to start and stop. I just click because I have 2 monitors, so I can move over to a second monitor and click and then come back and do that. But if you're using one monitor and you want to stop really quickly, then you can set hotkeys in here, have a look through them, see what you want to do. I'm not really going to explain too much more. And then advanced, I just leave the process priority on normal. You don't want to set it any different. It can just lead you to issues. Renderer, leave it on direct, whatever direct 3 you've got. Don't do OpenGL, that will start tanking your computer, I'm pretty sure. Color format, leave on MV12. Whilst these can give you better quality, once again, they'll just tank the shit out of your computer. YUV color space, you want to use 709, and then color range, you want to use partial. Now, the reason, you might think, oh, let's use the full color range. When you use full color range, it really darkens the video for me. I'd say with these, just try out different combinations between the color space and the color range and just see what looks good for you. But for me, 709 partial is the best. So that's all the settings in there. The next thing I can talk about is our audio. So once we've set up our audio, so imagine you've got your desktop audio. So I've got 2 desktop audios, remember, the split audio. But for you guys starting off, you might just have a single desktop audio and a single mic. Now, how do we make sure that this is all working? Well, if we go into the mixer, we want to make sure the volume is all set to 100. Unless something's really loud and maybe you want to turn it down, you could turn down the mic. You could have the mic coming out of just one side or something. But the key thing is you want to set which track, which audio device is coming out of which track. So here, I've set it so track 1 is the desktop audio, track 2 is my mic, and track 3 is my friend's audio when they're speaking. And you've got to make sure that these are all selected, just single ones here. Or you could have maybe multiple, you could add, with these extra tracks, you could have a track with 2 things on it. I don't know why you'd want to, but you do have the options, and that's the great thing about OBS. So just set each of these to 1 track, and close that, and that should be done. You can add filters and stuff to your audio if there are things going wrong, but I just leave all this. And the last thing to do is something which I didn't explain too much in the last episode, is actually how to start recording, which is kind of important. So on the side here, we have scenes, and then we have sources. So each scene has a set of sources. So what we'll do is we'll create a new scene here. So we'll go right click, and we'll click add, or you can just click the add button down here. And we're going to name this, I don't really name them because I usually know what they are, I don't really need to name them, but we're going to name this game. Pretty standard, or game rec, game recording. Okay? Then in sources, what we're going to do, so we're going to click add, and we're going to go to game capture. Click OK. When this opens up, you want to click here where it says capture any full screen applications and change that to capture specific window. And then in window, you're going to select basically whatever the hell you want to record. So I've got Binding of Isaac open at the moment. So if I click this, and I click OK, you can see there, it's now there. And I've actually got this game open here with the audio turned off. But what you want to do is you want to click it in the preview window, and then you can either scale it like this, or you can right click. You can go to scale filter, no, not scale filtering, transform, and you can say fit to screen. And there we go. You've now got it there. You can click start recording, and you can start just playing the game. You know, you could like press start. You could go in. You could start playing. Really awesome, and then it's recording. What about if you're playing a game which some games this won't hook onto? It won't. It will stay as a black screen. It can be really annoying. What you can do then is you can make a new scene and call this desktop recording. Now this might look a bit funky when I do this. I've also spelled that wrong, but ignore it. I'm gonna have to change that because I'm kind of OCD about that. Recording. There we go. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna click add, and we're gonna add a display capture. Okay, click OK, and there we go. So now what we've actually got set here is we're capturing the whole desktop. So we've got this paradox, this hall of screens going on here because it's recording the desktop. So then you could open up a game and you'd have to make sure it was running not in full screen because it wouldn't work. But if you run it in like full screen borderless or windowed, or maybe you're playing a flash game online, this is how you'd record that. If you click here, you can change which monitor. So I can go to my second monitor, which is where I'm actually recording from at the moment. And you can set whichever one you want. And so you've got the different scenes, and you can quickly switch between them. It's really smooth. So I can go from this game one and go to here. Other sources you can add single images like overlays. You can add video capture devices. So this would be like your webcam, window capture, which is I won't explain too much, but it's essentially you record just a single window. So that can work for some games as well, but I don't use it too often. Anyway, guys, this has been the tutorial for OBS 17.0.0. It has been quite a long one again, but I do like to explain things to you guys because if I don't explain things start going wrong. I had so many people commenting on my last video how things just weren't working for them, and that's why I want to explain everything, because that way, if stuff goes wrong, you can troubleshoot it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this has been informative, and when there's big changes to this software again, I'll be back explaining all the new stuff to you guys straight away. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye bye.